Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 2012 Mitchell Institute Fall Gala. And now, welcome to the stage our past president and current Chair Board of Advisors, Mary Mitchell Friedman.
Good evening. Welcome, everyone. I'm absolutely delighted to see everyone here this evening. Quick shout out to Mitchell scholar Kim Lim, who produced and created that wonderful video. Good job, Kim. I want to begin tonight, as I do every year, by thanking our incredibly generous host, Tom Walsh, and the wonderful staff here at the Marriott. We totally appreciate it. Tom probably doesn't like me to say this, but he underwrites the entire cost of this evening so that all of our proceeds tonight go directly to the Mitchell Institute and to our scholars. Thank you, Tom. I'd also like to thank our sponsors tonight. Our prime sponsors are Linda and Stuart Price. Our leadership sponsors are TD Bank and Wright Express. Our major sponsor tonight is Central Maine Power and IDEX. And our sponsors are GHM Insurance, Unum, Lee Auto Malls, Alaire, and the Down East Group at Morgan Stanley Smith Barney. Please join me in giving them a round of applause. Every year at about this time, both the board and the staff at the Mitchell Institute revisit our mission to make sure we're doing everything we can do to achieve our goals. Our mission is straightforward. It's to increase the likelihood that young people from every community in Maine will aspire to, pursue, and achieve a college education. Well, how do we do that? And there are three primary ways that we work to achieve those goals. First and foremost, we are a scholarship organization. Every single year, a graduating senior from every high school, public high school in the state of Maine, is awarded a Mitchell Scholarship. The selection criteria is academic performance, community service, and financial need. The award is for $6,000, and it's spread out over the 4 years of the student's college education. I am incredibly proud to tell you tonight that since 1995, the Mitchell Institute has awarded $9 million in direct financial aid. Right now, we have 530 Mitchell Scholars in college. 90% of them are on campuses right here in Maine, across the state. We have over 1,400 alumni, and our alumni council, many of whom you saw in that terrific video, are an active and integral part of our organization. Tonight, we have close to 70 Mitchell Scholars in the room. I'd like to ask all of them to please stand and be recognized. The second way we fulfill our mission is through our support programs. You see, we do more for our scholars than simply hand them a check. We hand them an opportunity. We open a door and we ask them to walk through it and partner with us to make the most of their college educations. Every August, we hold a welcome brunch at the University of Maine at Orono. And that day, Senator Mitchell and the staff greet the incoming class of Mitchell Scholars and their parents. And it's that day, when they hear from the senator, that they begin to understand the opportunity that they have received by being named a Mitchell Scholar. That brunch is the first of many events we hold for our scholars. We follow it up quickly in the fall with welcome events across campuses throughout the state of Maine so that the incoming freshman Mitchell Scholars get to know the upperclassmen. We help them organize community service events on their campuses and in their communities. And we hold leadership conferences for them. As a matter of fact, you might have seen from that video, 45 of our scholars and 2 of our staff members, Meg Baxter and Jared Cash, just got back from the New England Outdoor Center in Millinocket, where they held the annual Mile Weekend, the Mitchell Institute Leadership Experience. They had an amazing time and accomplished a great deal. We also offer other programs to our scholars. We recently inaugurated what we call the Fellowship Program. It's a new program funded by an anonymous donor, and it allows our scholars to pursue opportunities in their major fields of study that they might not otherwise be able to afford. We also recently partnered with CIEE to send 2 Mitchell scholars to study abroad last summer. You'll be hearing from one of them later this evening. We further support our scholars with mentoring by both the staff and the board, and we are in constant communication with them via email and social media websites. Those efforts are led by our amazing staff, chaired by Meg Baxter, and I'd like to ask the staff to please stand and be recognized as well. Our persistence and support of our scholars pays off in a big way. You see, our mission is about more than getting students to aspire to go to college. We want them to graduate. We want them to get a college degree. Mitchell scholars graduate from college at a rate way above state and national levels. And in fact, here in Maine, they graduate at a rate almost 20% higher than your average student in the state. That's a remarkable number. It's even more remarkable when you consider some of the obstacles that our scholars face in achieving their college degree. You see, 25% of them are first-generation college goers, first in their families to attend college. 25% of them come from families whose income is less than $20,000 a year. And fully 60% of them are from families whose income is below the state median here in Maine, which is $55,000 a year. Research tells us that lower income students are much less likely to aspire to go to college, and they're much more likely to drop out when they get there, especially if they're facing a financial setback. Our support programs, our connections to the scholars make a difference. We help keep them on the path to graduating. Now, the third way that we accomplish our mission is in a much broader context, and it relates not only to Mitchell scholars, but to every high school age student in the state of Maine. Our Director of Research, Lisa Plimpton, has authored several groundbreaking studies on the barriers that Maine high school students face in aspiring to and achieving a college education. That research has been shared widely throughout the state and, in fact, the nation. We work collectively, the senator, our board of directors, our staff, our scholars, and our donors to help shape education policy in the state of Maine and to break those barriers down. Tonight, we're here to thank you. We owe every one of you a deep debt of gratitude. I hope you enjoy this evening and hearing from our scholars. We are also here tonight to ask you to continue your support of the Mitchell Institute. Help us support these wonderful young men and women, and let's give them the opportunity to continue on the road to success. Now, you're in for a great evening. Senator Mitchell's going to speak to you and 3 of our scholars, but I have to take a minute to tell you about the amazing raffle item we have for you tonight, right? So Odysseys Unlimited, based in Newton, Massachusetts, has donated 3 trips for you to choose from if you're the winner of the raffle. I think we have a slideshow. We're going to begin showing some of the pictures of this trip. And I want to just tell you a few of the highlights. The winner of the raffle, at the end of the night, Senator Mitchell's going to choose the winner, will be able to choose one of these 3 trips. So the first one, it's the Treasures of Peru. It's an 11-day trip for 2 people with a value of $8,000. On the trip, you travel to Lima, the Sacred Valley, Machu Picchu, Colonial Cuzco, and Lake Titicaca. It includes your round-trip airfare from Miami, all your flights within Peru, private motor coach transportation, all your hotels, most of your meals, and all of your sightseeing. And it's led by an in-country Peruvian tour guide. The second trip, Mystical India. It's also a trip for 2, an 18-day journey through India, an $11,000 value. It includes travel to the Golden Triangle, a search for Bengal tigers at the Ranthambore Tiger Preserve, Khajuraho's ancient temples, and the beautiful sights of Varanasi. Again, the tour includes your round-trip airfare, this time from New York, all your transportation within India, all of your hotels, all of your sightseeing, most of your meals, and it's led by an in-country Indian tour director. The final spectacular trip is the provincial French countryside. It's a 15-day trip for 2, worth $11,000. On this trip, you have luxurious stays in Paris and Toulouse, and you travel through the historic areas of Languedoc, the Dordogne, and the Loire Valley, and Normandy. You stay in beautiful country houses and inns while you're there. It includes your round-trip airfare from Boston or New York, all your travel within France, all your hotels, most of your meals, and it's led by an in-country French tour guide. Now, this is a spectacular opportunity. What do you have to do to win? I'm going to tell you. In your programs, there are raffle tickets. They're tucked in. Pull the raffle ticket out, fill it out, give it to the scholar sitting at your table. If you don't win, you've given the Mitchell Institute a $250 tax-deductible donation, which goes directly to the scholars. If you do win, you choose the trip of a lifetime. So the tickets cost $250. You have your raffles at each table. You have scholars at each table. I urge you to fill them out. We draw the winner at the end of the program. We got a crowd over there. They're ready to bid on the trip. So Meg just reminded me, okay, we have a room of about 400 people here tonight. Not everyone buys a raffle ticket. Last year we sold about 50. So your odds of winning are 1 in 50 or 60, maybe 70 if we're fortunate. So please, fill out the tickets. All right, now I gotta get the room to calm down again, because I'm about to introduce, please, ladies and gentlemen, I'm about to introduce to you our first Mitchell Scholar who will speak tonight, and that is Spencer Traylor. Spencer?
My name is Spencer Traylor, and I am a sophomore at Colby College in Waterville, Maine. I'm from Milo, Maine, a small rural town in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the state, and I graduated from Pecos Valley High School in 2011. During high school, I was very committed to serving my community and my school. I moved to Milo from Orange County, California when I was 12 years old, and the wonderful people of Milo made that transition much easier than it could have been. I felt that it's my duty, and still is my duty, to pay those people back in any way possible. At the end of my freshman year at Panquist, I was chosen to attend Seeds of Peace. Seeds is a summer camp located in Otisfield, Maine, that brings together high school students from conflict regions around the world. During my session, I was at camp with kids from Israel, Palestine, Egypt, and Jordan, who were there to learn firsthand what coexistence really means. At the time, I probably couldn't have told you where any of these countries were on a map. I didn't know why these people hated each other, and it didn't really matter to me. I got to meet and become great friends with some amazing people from countries that I barely knew existed. And those 3 weeks were some of the best in my life. Over the years, this experience has started to shape my academic interest. I was no longer content with the black and white issues of math and science. I wanted to learn more about the world and get a chance to experience it for myself. Another seed who graduated from Panquist a few years before me was the first person to tell me about the Mitchell Scholarship. He told me that it would be a perfect fit for me because of my academic interests and social interests. That was my first experience with a Mitchell alum, and as I've grown to expect from Mitchell alums, it was a great experience. I didn't know much about the Mitchell Scholarship, except for the fact that it was a hefty chunk of cash to help me with college, and that it was meant for students interested in giving back to Maine during and throughout college. As you will hear from most Mitchell scholars, it wasn't until after I received the scholarship that I realized that it was much more than just a check. For instance, most of the first people I met from Colby were Mitchell scholars. I remember having that pre-college nervousness right before heading off to school when I went to the Mitchell brunch, which is held at the end of every summer for new scholars. One of the students who gave a speech at the brunch was a Colby student, and I got to sit at a table with other incoming Colby freshmen. This simple networking event was all it took for me to get over my fears and to really get excited for what was about to come with my first year of college. After last year's gala and a few other events hosted by the Mitchell Institute, I decided that I wanted to get more involved as a Mitchell scholar. I knew that getting more involved with the Institute wouldn't be too difficult, but I never expected the opportunity that I ended up getting. Although unofficial at the time, I knew that my interests were in global studies, more specifically in the Middle East. After Seeds of Peace and after taking a few classes focused in the Middle East at Colby, I knew that my life would be tied to that region. The Mitchell Institute informed me about a fellowship opportunity where they were teaming up with the Portland-based study abroad organization, CIEE, to send one scholar to Ireland and one to Amman, Jordan, to study conflict resolution, where Senator Mitchell has had a significant impact. Although I felt like the opportunity was a long shot, I still found it difficult to contain my excitement just knowing that it would be possible for me to have a chance to go to the Middle East. Despite the fact that my application probably sounded like a fanatic with an irrational obsession with the Middle East, I was chosen as the scholar to travel to Amman, Bethlehem, and Jerusalem. I can't express enough how excited I was for this. After reading so many books about the Middle East, watching the news and movies, going to church and hearing about the Holy Land, I was finally getting a chance to go to the one place in the world I wanted to go more than anywhere else. During the trip, I got to meet and hear lectures by various Jordanian government officials who had worked on the 1994 peace treaty with Israel, professors who studied the Israeli-Arab conflict, representatives from the European and American embassies, and scientists who worked across disputed borders on environmental concerns. I got to experience firsthand the culture, government, history, and religion of the Levant. Although the trip only lasted 2 weeks, it was just enough to give me a taste of what I knew I was going to be studying and working on for the rest of my life. The purpose of this trip was not just to have this amazing experience, but also for me to provide some insight into the difficulties which face Maine students when it comes to traveling abroad. Being a first-generation college student from a small public school in the middle of Maine with a low-income family, I understand why so many students in Maine feel like they don't have the opportunities to go out and explore the world. I look forward to working with the Mitchell Institute to find ways to change that among scholars and students throughout Maine. I could literally talk about these experiences all day, but I know I have limited time. I would like to thank the Mitchell Institute and CIEE once again for this amazing and life-changing experience, and thank everyone who's here for what they've done for the Mitchell Institute. Thank you.
I absolutely love Spencer's enthusiasm, and he is one of many scholars who is that enthusiastic and passionate about what they do and what we do, and it just is terrific. Great job, Spencer. As you know, one of our constant priorities is to continue to raise the funds that we need to give out 128 new scholarships every single year. The amount of the scholarship, as I told you, is $6,000, and we pay that out over the 4 years of the student in college. We need, in the coming years, to raise that amount from $6,000 to $10,000 to keep pace with the rising costs of college educations. We pay out, as I said, about $1,500 a year. We'd like to get that up to $2,500. You see, what we do with the Mitchell Institute is we try to fill the gap between the amount of assistance a scholar gets from their college or university and the amount that the family and the student are expected to pay. So sometimes that gap is only a few $100s. Sometimes it's a few $1,000s. But for families that come, for students who come from families who make $20,000 a year or less than $50,000 a year, that gap is insurmountable without our help. So tonight, we honor our pioneer donors. These are individuals and corporations who have donated more than $150,000 to the Mitchell Institute. These are the backbone of our organization. Tonight, we have a very special video presentation to honor our pioneer donors and our pioneer scholars who we distinguish in honor of the donors. Again, this video was by our very own Kim Lim. Please enjoy.
I was thinking of Gail today. She was kind of the den mother for Georgia's Senate office, and she was a great inspiration to us all. She was kind of the classic Maine person, I think. She was hardworking. She had a great sense of humor. She could be tough too. When she would hear that somebody was getting an unfair treatment from Social Security, that a veteran wasn't being treated right somehow, she'd go to bat for him. And that was really the kind of person that she was. Everybody knew her. She knew everybody in the state of Maine. It was an honor to work with her, and it's an honor for you to receive the scholarship named for her. And but from what I know of you, it seems like a pretty good fit.
I remember when I was told I got the Pioneer Award in honor of Gail, I didn't really realize the immensity of the award I'd been given. And being a freshman in college and unsure of myself and everything that I'd gone through, I was not expecting to be welcomed in that kind of manner at all. I didn't realize that one of the biggest things was her resiliency, and I think that's probably something that I would personally bring with everything that I've been through, that, you got to keep going and pushing. And I loved her ability to root for the underdog and always there for the people who sometimes there isn't somebody there for them. Now I work at Oxford Hills Comprehensive High School as the Aspirations Lab Coordinator. My job is to help connect kids with opportunities outside of high school. I also help them figure out what school they want to go to or what military program they might feel is best for them.
And now, the 2012 Mitchell Institute Pioneer Awards. The Patty Frank Walsh Pioneer Award recognizes a Mitchell scholar who has overcome tremendous obstacles to achieve success. This year's recipient is Brianna Gordon from Lee Academy. The Leon and Lisa Gorman Pioneer Award in honor of Senator George J. Mitchell recognizes a Mitchell Scholar who has demonstrated strong qualities of leadership, character, and hard work. The award goes to Paige Piper from Poland Regional High School. The Senator George J. Mitchell Pioneer Award recognizes leadership, character, and perseverance. This year's recipient is Carrie Logan from Yarmouth High School. The Bath Iron Works Buzz Fitzgerald Pioneer Award recognizes a Mitchell Scholar who is a child or grandchild of a BIW employee. This year's recipient is Megan Totten from Mount Ararat High School. The Casella Pioneer Award recognizes a student entering the field of environmental studies. This year's recipient is Julia Main from Greeley High School. The George and Mintaha Mitchell Pioneer Award recognizes the Mitchell Scholar from Waterville High School. This year's recipient is Michael O'Neill from Waterville High School. The Morton K. and Jane Blaustein Pioneer Award recognizes first-generation college students and students from recently immigrated families. This year's recipient is Xiaojie Chen from Mount Blue High School. The Sam L. Cohen Foundation Pioneer Award recognizes the Mitchell Scholar from Biddeford High School. This year's recipient is Caitlin Maskalenko from Biddeford High School. The Sam L. Cohen Foundation Pioneer Award recognizes the Mitchell Scholar from Thornton Academy. The award goes to Michelle Henner from Thornton Academy. The Mitchell Senate Staff Pioneer Award in memory of Gail Corey recognizes a Mitchell Scholar whose belief in public service, faith in people, and dedication to the greater good are a model to all. This year's recipient is Camille Kramer from Penquis Valley High School. The Ott Family Pioneer Award recognizes the Mitchell Scholar from Gorham High School who has demonstrated academic promise and a history of community service. This year's recipient is Mason Crocker from Gorham High School. The John and Nellie Jackson Pioneer Award recognizes a student attending Maine Maritime Academy who represents personal humility and hard work. This year's recipient is Finn Welch from Erskine Academy. The Janet Fraser Mitchell Pioneer Award recognizes a Mitchell Scholar at Colby College with a preference towards those majoring in English literature. This year's award goes to Eva Nesipur from Brunswick High School. The Walt Disney Company Pioneer Award recognizes a Mitchell Scholar who has demonstrated an interest and talent in the arts. This year's recipient is Ethan Pierce from Gardner High School. The Jack and Charlie Canning Pioneer Award recognizes a Mitchell Scholar from the Greater Augusta area who has demonstrated academic growth, leadership, and enthusiasm for the community. This year's recipient is Jeffrey Vigue Jr. from Coney High School. The William J. Ryan Pioneer Award recognizes a Mitchell Scholar with financial need and demonstrated commitment to community who plans to pursue a career in business. This year's recipient is Colby Averill from Biddeford High School. The Harold Alfond Pioneer Award recognizes the Mitchell Scholar from Dexter High School. The award goes to Ryan Wilkes from Dexter High School. The Harold Alfond Pioneer Award recognizes the Mitchell Scholar from Messalonsky High School. This year's recipient is Samantha Briggs from Messalonsky High School. The Shepard Lee Pioneer Award recognizes the Mitchell Scholar from Lewiston High School. This year's recipient is Nadifa Mohammed from Lewiston High School. The Ann Lamb Pioneer Award recognizes the Mitchell Scholar from Falmouth High School who has demonstrated a love of reading or literacy work. The award goes to Muna El Taha from Falmouth High School. The Reynolds Kerr Family Pioneer Award recognizes the Mitchell Scholar entering the field of engineering, mathematics, or the physical sciences. This year's recipient is Jessie Butler from Deering High School. The Rockefeller Family Pioneer Award recognizes the Mitchell Scholar from Mount Desert Island High School. This year's award goes to Michaela Parsons from Mount Desert Island High School. The Colleen J. Quint Pioneer Award recognizes the Mitchell Scholar who best exemplifies the qualities of leadership and inspiration, which defined Colleen's 13 years of service to the Mitchell Institute. This year's recipient is Kim Dow from Thornton Academy. And now, we ask this year's Pioneer Scholars and Pioneer Donors to stand together as we acknowledge your accomplishments.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mitchell Pioneer Scholar Stephanie Littlehale.
Good evening. My name is Stephanie Littlehale, and I'm a 2008 Mitchell Scholar from Georges Valley High School. As you saw, I was also the recipient of the Gail Corey Pioneer Award in 2008. First, I'd like to thank you all for coming this evening to support the Mitchell Institute. Former Senator Mitchell himself said once that no one should be guaranteed success, but everyone should be given a fair chance to succeed. This is why you are here tonight. And I'm fortunate to say this is why I too am here tonight, to help give Maine students a fair chance to succeed. So thank you all so much for coming and giving us your support. So we all know that each and every Mitchell Scholar has a very unique story. Well, this is just one, but it's mine. I want to take you all back 19 years to when this photo was taken. This was me in 1993. I was almost 3 years old. I wasn't even in kindergarten yet. As you can see, I certainly had a rough childhood. Things weren't always perfect around me. Regardless of my circumstances, I always had big dreams of what my life could be one day. Of course, those dreams changed from day to day. I wanted to be a doctor, a teacher, an astronaut, a diplomat, a journalist. And finally, today, I'm quite sure I'd like to be a lawyer. But whatever I was convinced to become, I always knew one thing, that I was going to change the world and make it a better place for me and for everyone else living in it. It didn't occur to me until I was in high school that in order for any of these dreams to come true, I would have to go to college. So I thought, okay, I'll just go to college. If only going to college was as easy as deciding to go and then just going. Life is so much more complicated than that. By the time I applied for college at the age of 17, I found myself homeless. Many of my nights were spent in the back of my faithful 92 Mazda Protege in the far corner of a Walmart parking lot in Rockland, Maine. Luckily, some other nights were spent on random yet more comfy couches. Oh, I had big dreams as a kid. I wanted to change the world. But at that time, I wasn't even sure if I'd have enough gas to get to school in the morning or enough change in my console to pay for a bagel for breakfast. It was hard to even think about college when questions like, what will I eat and where will I live, raced through my mind. I still saw all those dreams I had as a kid, but they were now hidden behind this fog, and I could see them slowly drifting away from me. The feeling was absolutely suffocating. One of the great things about living in Maine is that sense of community we have. Us, we Mainers, we protect our own. I am a perfect example of that kid who has big dreams, but was not blessed with an easy set of circumstances. All I needed was a little support and direction. and my community absolutely delivered. My high school guidance secretary, for example, Mary Joyce Groton, paid for the dress I wore on the day of my high school graduation. After I got in a car accident, my school and community helped me pay for a new vehicle. My English teacher, Jennifer True, she comforted me when I came to her first period class in tears, worrying about the month's rent. It was even the anonymous people around me who left cards in the office for me so I could buy groceries and supplies for my own survival. Most touching, however, was when my 7th and 8th grade teacher, Lorraine Knight, and her husband, Chris, contacted me. When they found out about my situation, they invited me into their home to be a part of their family. Chris and Lorraine, whom I'm very, very proud to call Mom and Dad, have joined us tonight to support me and the Mitchell Institute. And I would very much like to ask them to stand at this time, as you really don't get many opportunities to thank your parents publicly. And I know that they're out in the LL Bean table. And while I'm up here, I do have a couple words for you, Mom and Dad. I want to thank you so much. Your love and support has taught me what it means to be a part of a family. You're absolutely amazing people. Taking in a 17-year-old teenager into your home is not an easy feat, as I'm sure you will attest to. You really are the reason I've made it this far, so thank you so much. So with the support of the community I've described to you and so many others, I'm here today. I'm lucky. I was saved. That year, I was able to graduate valedictorian of the class of 2008 at Georges Valley High School. So let me assure you, any child with some personal drive, in any circumstance, with just a little bit of support, can be successful. The Mitchell Institute so clearly understands this on such a deep level. It's not just a scholarship. The Mitchell Institute is a huge part of each and every high school community across Maine. There's a sense in all of us scholars that we are chosen as the best and brightest students of Maine. Well, we are. Only one student is chosen from each and every graduating class. This year, 20% of Maine's graduating students that plan to further their education applied for the scholarship. The need for financial assistance to go to college is real and is absolutely increasing. Only about 1 out of every 3 students that graduated from my graduating class in 2008 are expected to hold a degree at the end of 2013. For a person who was neglected at a young age, it is so very important for me to know that I am worth someone's time, that I am special, and that I am going somewhere, and that I can be that one person out of 3. In 2008, the Mitchell Institute and my family put their trust in me and supported me as I ventured off to the University of Maine at Orono. While I was there, thanks to the support of my family and the Institute, I was able to study abroad in Bulgaria and travel to 11 countries in Europe. My flight to Bulgaria was the first time I'd ever been on a plane, and I encourage you to ask my mom about that experience because she has some great stories. Ultimately, I am so proud to stand before you having graduated summa cum laude from the University of Maine at Orono with high honors. So your support does make a difference. And now, as I'm preparing myself for law school, I'm busy dreaming up what my photos will look like 10 years from now. So thank you all for making that a possibility for me. I'm honored to be a Mitchell Scholar. I have been chosen to be given a chance to take my childhood dreams and make them come true. How many kids, just like me, were left in that fog, alone? What happened to that 66% of my graduating class that will not be holding that diploma in 2013? What are they doing today? Where are they going? Who's helping them along? I'm lucky that I was chosen to be given a fair chance to succeed. Every child should be given that chance. So thank you.
I'm not actually sure that I can talk right now, but I'll try. I can't tell you how proud we are of Stephanie. She is an amazing young lady with amazing parents, and we are proud to call her a Mitchell Scholar. We have one more scholar to hear from this evening, but before we do that, I'm going to remind you of the raffle. Fill out your tickets at this point, hand them to the scholar at your table. In about 10 or so minutes, somebody will come around and collect all the tickets from every table. And somebody's going to win, so that'll be exciting. Personally, I hope it's Stephanie. Okay, I want to introduce to you the last Mitchell Scholar to speak this evening. You'll notice that we do it in kind of a progression. We have Spencer, who's a sophomore at Colby right now. We have Stephanie, who just graduated last year. And now it is my deep pleasure to introduce you to Michelle Martin, who is a Mitchell Scholar alumni and a very active one. Michelle?
There was a movie made about it where the lead actress goes down 2 different paths based on whether or not she makes it into a train before the doors shut. There was even a television show based on the premise, Let's Make a Deal, where choosing the right door is critical in determining whether your prize is exciting or undesirable. And there is also a quote that captures it well, something you may have heard. 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all of the difference. My name is Michelle Martin, and I'm here to share with you how my choice to fill out an application for a scholarship from the Mitchell Institute seemed simple at the time, and truly ended up being the right step, the right door, and the right path for me. I was fortunate enough that my dad had seen the Mitchell Institute scholarship in the newspaper. This was nearly 13 years ago. He walked over to the office at Monument Square and picked up the application for me. My parents and I had been looking at financial aid, scholarships, and whatever we could in preparation for my transition to the University of Maine at Orono. This was something that caught his eye as different. This was not just about money, but about leadership, service, and contribution. All things that I was fortunate enough to have had experience with during my time at Scarborough High School. I was thrilled to learn that I had been selected as a scholarship recipient, and I remember that fall welcome breakfast well. I couldn't believe that I was having my photo taken with Senator George Mitchell, and I think my parents felt the same way as they watched. What I also couldn't have predicted at that time was what the scholarship would grow into for me. Although it has to be called a scholarship to signify the financial support that it provides, today I would more accurately call this award a relationship. Throughout my college and post-college years, the Mitchell Institute has provided incredible support to me. I have benefited from this relationship through connections to internships, invitations to events just like this one that led to networking opportunities and ultimately jobs, opportunities for service through events and participation in the Alumni Council. I just finished a 7-year term on that. References for jobs in graduate school, and networking with my fellow scholars and the Mitchell Institute staff, who have become great friends and an amazing support network. And this list could go on all night. My very favorite Mitchell Institute story is that I sat right where you do 9 years ago in the audience with executives from Bank North, and they had been supporters for a long time. They offered me the opportunity after the event to simply come in for an informational interview. 2 years after that interview, my resume was still moving around within the organization, and I was hired on. I am now 7 years into an exciting and successful career with TD Bank. As you sit in the audience tonight, please know that each of you is contributing to an organization that is committed to the ideals that I am sure we collectively share, which are to provide opportunities to Maine students so that we can all continue to live and thrive in a place that many call vacation land, but we call home. Thank you. And now I would like to introduce our very own Senator Mitchell by way of a recent CBS Sunday Morning Life documentary clip entitled Man in the Middle.
This is a typical hiking trail in Acadia National Park. It's beautiful, the majestic forest that you have to go through, a lot of rocks, a lot of roots. You got to watch where you're going. You got to be careful.
But then George Mitchell has managed to navigate many rocky paths. A modest man with a remarkable career. He served as Senate Majority Leader, Middle East negotiator, chairman of the board of the Walt Disney Company. He runs a major law firm and led the investigation into steroid use in Major League Baseball. But what may be his most significant achievement could be seen earlier this summer. A historic handshake between Queen Elizabeth and former IRA chief Martin McGuinness, now a top official in Northern Ireland. It happened in large part because just 14 years ago, George Mitchell brokered a peace deal between Catholics and Protestants in Northern Ireland after years of violence and strife.
I realized how historical it was.
You did?
Yes, I felt it. Everyone was aware of the historical significance of what we were doing.
Growing up here in Maine, Mitchell never expected to become an actor on the world stage.
This is so far beyond any dreams I might have had. And I think about my parents, how it would have been completely beyond their scope of imagination.
But his life is a testament to the American dream. His dad was an Irish-American janitor. His mom, a Lebanese immigrant who couldn't read or write.
She was a weaver in a textile mill, and she worked a night shift. I still can't figure out how she did it. She had 5 children, so including she and my father, there were 7 people in our house. We had 1 tiny bathroom.
But Mitchell didn't let any of it stop him. He worked his way through college and law school with a stint in the military in between. In 1962, he was unexpectedly offered a job with Maine Senator Ed Muskie. Once you started working with Senator Muskie, did you start to think, hey, there's something about politics?
As they say in a less elegant term, it gets into your blood.
In 1980, Mitchell became a United States Senator himself, earning a reputation that follows him to this day as a skilled negotiator trying to understand the other side.
Why do they believe as they do? Why do they act as they do? Is there something to their position that I don't understand or that I've been wrong about? The most disturbing thing now is the rigidity of some. You know, we are right, we're 100% right, and if you disagree with us, you're not just wrong, you're not an American.
In fact, in 1989, when he was elected Senate Majority Leader, Democrat Mitchell did something that's hard to imagine in this era of partisan animosity. On his first day, he made a pledge to Republican leader Bob Dole.
I'll never try to embarrass you. I will never attack you personally.
It's almost unheard of these days, but in those days it was cordiality. We had a relationship. Well, he's my friend, and he's a great legislator.
Mitchell was so well respected on both sides of the aisle that President Bill Clinton wanted to make him a Supreme Court justice.
I've asked President Clinton not to consider me for nomination to the vacancy on the Supreme Court.
Were you disappointed that
Oh,
he said
God,
no?
yes. I thought he had a range of experience that would have been incredibly valuable on the court, as well as years of negotiating experience, which would have made him effective in trying to forge a majority. So I was disappointed he didn't do it.
Mitchell turned down the court because he felt a greater responsibility to get the Clinton health care plan passed. It was an effort that ultimately failed, and Mitchell's sacrifice was for naught. Have you ever looked back and thought, gee, that was a mistake?
Oh, sure. Yes. After the Bush versus Gore decision by the Supreme Court, that's one thing I wished I'd been there to argue against.
In 1995, George Mitchell decided it was time to leave the Senate. But a week later, President Clinton convinced him to take on the tough task of bringing peace to Northern Ireland. And soon Mitchell found himself at a negotiating table filled with old and bitter grievances between Catholics and Protestants. How'd you find the patience to deal with so many different parties and make all of that happen?
I said to the delegates at the peace conference very early in the process, I said, look, I'm a product of the U.S. Senate. I've listened to 16-hour speeches, to 12-hour speeches. I said, there's nothing you guys can say that can faze me.
And he's brilliant at that, about you're just hammering through and working on their psychology and their needs and listening carefully to what they need.
Protestants and Catholics today reached what could be a historic peace agreement for Northern Ireland.
Finally, after 3 years of intense negotiation, Mitchell sealed a peace deal, earning him a Nobel Peace Prize nomination and a knighthood from Queen Elizabeth. Through it all, he has always returned to his beloved Maine, where he's built a family retreat.
This land was owned by David Rockefeller, and he decided to sell off basically this hill.
Still, it doesn't take much to pull Mitchell back into service. A lifelong baseball fan, he was tapped to run an investigation into steroid use by players, and his 2000 report is credited with helping to clean up the sport.
I think many more copies of that were distributed than my reports on Northern Ireland or the Middle East or any place else.
It was in 2009 that President Obama named him chief negotiator in the Middle East.
Senator Mitchell is going to be fully empowered by me and fully empowered by Secretary Clinton. So when he speaks, he will be speaking for us.
But the intractable Middle East proved to be one place where even Mitchell could not prevail. After 2 years, he stepped down to spend more time with wife Heather and their 2 children. Yet, despite the obstacles in the Middle East, this American statesman is still full of hope.
I believe that Israelis and Palestinians will come together to reach an agreement to end the conflict.
In your lifetime?
Yes, in my lifetime. But that belief is based primarily on the reality that it is so much in their interest, both societies, to bring this conflict to an end.
And as for George Mitchell, at 79, he doesn't rule out taking on another big assignment.
I can't imagine any American saying no to a president who asks you to do something that is meaningful for the country and for our people.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Senator George Mitchell.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your presence, for your warm reception, and most of all, for your continuing support for our scholarship program. There is some pleasure in listening to these lavish introductions. There is also some risk. The risk that if you hear it often enough, you start to believe all of this stuff. And so after that, I'd like to tell a story that describes how I was brought back to earth after I came back from Northern Ireland. I wrote a book about my experience, and when it was published, I traveled around the country to promote sales of the book. I received literally hundreds of invitations to go to events. I couldn't accept them all. But in the course of it, I learned that in the United States, there are more Irish American organizations than there are Irish Americans. And I went around to several of them, and there developed an informal competition among them as to who could give the longest, the most exaggerated, as Joe Biden would have said, the most malarkey invitation that anybody could have heard. And I'm embarrassed to say that I began to start believing all this stuff. And when I got to the final stop of my book tour, it was at the Stamford, Connecticut Irish American Club. My head was so big that I could just barely squeeze it through the front door. And when I got inside, the first person I encountered was an elderly woman who rushed up to me, very excited, shook my hand vigorously and said, "I'm thrilled to meet you." She said, "I don't live anywhere near here. I drove 3 hours just to shake your hand, to say hello, and to ask you to sign my poster because I think you're a really great man." And I said, "Well, of course, I'll sign your poster." She handed it to me with a pen, and I looked at it, and I said, "I'll be happy to sign it." I said, "But before I do, I think there's something I must tell you." She said, "What is it?" I said, "I'm not Henry Kissinger." The poster was a big picture of Henry Kissinger, who she really thought was a great man. And she looked at me, surprised, and she said, "You're not?" She said, "Well, who are you anyway?" And when I told her, her face betrayed her disappointment, and she said, "Well, that's awful." She said, "That's just terrible." She said, "I drove 3 hours to meet Henry Kissinger, and all I've got is you." I said, "Well, I'm really sorry that I'm not Henry Kissinger." I said, "and that you're feeling so much pain. I wish there was something I could do to make you feel better." And after a brief pause, she said, "Well, there is." I said, "What is it?" And she leaned forward toward me and in a conspiratorial low voice said, "Nobody will ever know the difference." She said, "Would you mind signing Henry Kissinger's name on my poster?" So I did. And somewhere up in northeastern Connecticut on the wall somewhere, there's a big poster of Henry Kissinger with my signature of his name. Now, the best part of it is that just a couple of months ago, I appeared jointly at an event in New York with Henry Kissinger. And we both spoke, and I told this story at the beginning. And then we both gave serious talks, and we answered questions. And I'd appeared with him several times before. And on the way out, he said to me, I have to tell you, he said, I've been with you often, I've heard you speak often. He said, I've never heard you give a better speech than you gave tonight. And I said, really? I said, what part of it did you especially like? He said, well, that story that you told at the beginning, he said, that was really good. You should tell that more often. So I have. And here I am, the non-Henry Kissinger, back down to earth. I want to associate myself and repeat some of Mary's remarks, particularly in the expressions of gratitude. First to Tom Walsh, who's here, and to Linda, his wife, and to all of the incredible staff here at the Marriott. Please give all of them a round of applause. This is the 12th consecutive year that they have, through their extraordinary generosity, made it possible for us to direct every dollar contributed here tonight directly to helping young people go to college in Maine. Tom, why don't you stand up again? Come on, I want to really get it. Not only that, Tom is my foreign policy advisor with respect to Ireland. He doesn't get any credit on the screen. I don't talk too much about all the advice I got from him during the time, but as a good Irishman, his father was an immigrant from Ireland. He taught me how to deal with those guys over there when I got there. I want to thank also the other sponsors, TD Bank, Wright Express, two companies who've been just tremendous in their ongoing support for the scholarship program, and Linda Mitchell-Price and Stuart Price. Linda's my niece. She and her husband, Stuart, have been major benefactors, and we're very, very grateful to them. Because of their ongoing support and that of many others, indeed all of you here this evening, as Mary said, we've been able to provide more than $9 million to more than 2,000 students. I want to add also that this annual dinner gives me another chance and a public opportunity to recognize and express my gratitude to our very hardworking staff, led by Meg Baxter, and our board of directors, chaired by David Johnson. And I'd ask all of these members of the staff and of the board who are present to please stand, and ladies and gentlemen, join me in thanking them for their dedicated effort. There's nothing more important in life than family, and my family, many of them are here tonight, have been major supporters of this program from the very beginning. And I'd like to recognize and ask them to stand, my sister Barbara, my brother Paul and John, my sisters-in-law Yvette, Pernella, and Janet, along with a whole bunch of nieces and nephews who I won't mention each by name, but would you all please stand and express the gratitude. Let me express my gratitude to you. We're honored to have many distinguished officials here tonight, and I'd like to introduce a few of them. First, we're very much honored by Representative Shelley Pingree and her husband Donald Sussman, who've taken time off from the campaign trail to come here. Shelley and Donald, would you please stand? Also here is the Democratic leader of the Maine House of Representatives, now a candidate for the U.S. Senate, Emily Kane. Emily is here. I can't see where you are. Emily, stand up. And although she hasn't yet been elected to anything, I do think we should recognize and pay a special tribute to Colleen Quint, who until this year headed this organization and did such. Colleen, would you please stand? We also are very fortunate to have here this evening some college and university presidents and officials, and each of the institutions of higher learning in Maine has been especially supportive of our program. We've developed a great working relationship with all of them. I'm going to read off their names and ask them to stand and remain standing until they're all up, and then give them one single round of applause, please. Bro Adams, the president of Colby College, and his wife Lauren are here. Susan Hunter, the provost at the University of Maine. Theo Calico, the president of USM here in Portland. Michael Stevenson, the provost at USM. And Jim Dlugos and his wife Michelle, the newly inducted president of St. Joseph's College. Would you please join me in thanking all of them for their great work here. When I started this program, at the time I retired from the Senate in 1995, I had two objectives. The first was to give something back, to help others in the many ways that I had been helped. And second, thinking about the future of this state that we all love so much, to do what I could to make sure that Maine has the educated workforce necessary for success in the 21st century. I wanted first to give something back because I felt that I had been the beneficiary of so much help from so many people here in Maine. As you heard in the video, my mother worked the night shift in textile mills in central Maine all of her adult life, and my father worked as a janitor at Colby College. They had little formal education, but they were determined to send all of their 5 children to college. They recognized that if we were to have better jobs and better lives than they had, we needed to get an education. But they couldn't afford to pay the costs of a college education. And that's when I learned firsthand the importance of scholarships and the importance of a helping hand. Without those helping hands, I would not have been able to go to or graduate from college, and I certainly would not be where I am today. It was through the encouragement of my teachers, the kindness and generosity of many friends, and also from many people I didn't even know who just wanted to help. The assistance I got from Bowdoin and my own willingness to work, that I was able to earn a college degree and to start on the path that led me to the United States Senate and beyond. I created this program to enable every Maine youngster who can't otherwise get an education to have the same chance in life that I had. Our goal is high. We want every single boy and girl in Maine to be able to go as far and as high as their talent and their willingness to work will take them. And you heard from 3 young people tonight who demonstrate the qualities of these young people when they get a chance. And I want to say to you, as impressive as they were, they are truly representative of all of the scholars. We could have drawn out of a lottery of the 128 scholarship recipients this year, and you would have heard 3 equally impressive and compelling presentations. These are terrific young people who make me proud to be from Maine and make me proud to be supporting them, to see with great confidence that they're going to contribute to this society, this state, their community, and their country. Now, we want that to happen to everybody, and I also want to have each of them to have the same expectations of hard work that I had. You've got to work to succeed in life, and you've got to develop a work ethic early in life. And in fact, our scholars do work hard. As Mary said, over 90% of them earn all A's and B's in college, wherever they go. and they also work to give back to their communities. Just last year, our scholars performed more than 30,000 hours of community service here in Maine. Now, my second objective. Every person in this room understands the link between an educated workforce and a vibrant economy. In the past, there are many men and women who have succeeded, reached the pinnacle of success in life with little or no education. And they're heartwarming stories. The one thing we can say with certainty, that there will be fewer of them in the 21st century than before, and even fewer beyond. With the vast explosion in knowledge, with the dramatic information and technological revolution through which the human race is now passing, knowledge and skill will be more essential than ever to success in virtually every walk of life. And we know that more education means more income and a better life for the individual, and a more robust economy for the state as a whole. The earnings of Maine workers today are, with a bachelor's degree, 50% higher than for those with only a high school diploma. And the unemployment rate is 50% lower. It's beyond dispute, and it's beyond doubt. Wherever you go in this state, in this country, or on this earth, a higher level of education, on average, leads to a higher income. In Maine, demand for college-educated workers is projected to grow 7 times faster than the demand for high school graduates. And I haven't even mentioned the thousands and thousands of members of our society who aren't able to get even a high school education. For them, unemployment rates are yet higher and income are even lower. Now, right now, the proportion of Maine working adults with an associate degree or higher is well below the New England average. We have to do better. We're fortunate to have a high percentage of students who graduate from high school, but we have a very low percentage of students who go on to college, and an even lower percentage who graduate from college. Our research at the Institute shows that the factors that most affect access to college are the student's social and economic background and their academic preparation. And the research is very clear that these two characteristics are related. This year, nearly half of Maine students from kindergarten through high school have family incomes low enough to qualify for free or reduced price school lunches. And there is a 25 percentage point gap between those students and their classmates whose incomes are above that level in math, and math proficiency is a very strong indicator of college readiness and success. So investment in education will pay off for the individual students to lead better, more full, more meaningful, hopefully more productive lives, and for the whole society. We know from our research also that 70% of all of our scholars currently live and work in Maine, and fully 90% of them plan to do so within 5 years. These statistics demonstrate that they're making a difference for Maine, just as we are making a difference for them with your help. It's my great hope that over the next few years we'll be able to increase the dollar amount of the scholarships that we provide, as Mary suggested, for the reasons she stated, to enable them to keep pace with inflation. When you think about it, the amount that we provide now is a relatively small proportion of a college education. The principal benefit is that enables them to build a program of financial support at each institution for each of the students. To do all of that, we need your continued help and support. We have to keep college within reach of the many thousands of young Maine people who need help to get there and to graduate. They are the future leaders of our state and hopefully of our nation. To all of you for what you've done in behalf of this program, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you. I encourage you to do all you can to be of help. And if you're in doubt, don't think about what I said. Think about what these three young people here said tonight and how they do represent the high quality of the young people around this state who, when given a chance that they might not otherwise get, can rise to the top. Thank you again very much. Have a great evening.
Well, we have the one fun item left. Scholars who have the raffle tickets, can you please bring them forward? Meg and the rest of the staff, if we can get everybody to, where's our basket that we have? Ah. Okay, so I understand that if there are last-minute tickets that want to be filled out, please fill them out. Bring them to the front of the room, all the scholars. The senator is waiting to draw the winner. I just want to say, finally, this has been a tremendous evening, and it'll only take a couple more minutes, I promise. Okay, we just want to make sure that everybody has gotten their ticket in the basket. So can you just look around your table, make sure there are no tickets outstanding before we ask the senator to pick a winner for the evening. Are we good? All right, gonna shake them up.
Elizabeth and George Burns.
Thank you, everybody, so very much. We can't Which trip are you picking? He said he'll leave it to his social director.
Okay. All right.
Thank you all.
Thank you.